Alrighty. Let's see. Is everything working? I have not streamed using YouTube before, so I hope it's working. Let's check. Is my sound actually on? Let's see. Yes. Okay. Let's see. Great. I'm just realizing how awkward my hair looks today because I misplaced my headband. Alrighty. Looks like we got a couple people watching. Lovely. So, hello. I am Cash the Composer, and it's been a while. I'm going to give it another minute or two before we actually get down into the nitty gritty because I don't know if anybody else is going to come and watch, but if they are, I want to give them time to show up before I just get started with everything. So how are you guys doing? Anybody there? I see a couple people are here. I see one person said HRY in the chat. I have no idea what that means. Does that mean hurry? Well, I'm back. It's been 9 months. Hope that's asked enough for you. If it's how are you, I'm doing okay. Stomach's a little bit upset today. Don't know why, probably because I haven't actually eaten any real food today other than some baked goods. Yeah, alrighty. Okay, looks like we got a couple people here. All right, anyways, hello everybody. I'm Cash the Composer, and it's been a while. You can actually chart how long it's been by the length of my hair. I started growing it out a couple months ago, and it's now awkwardly long to the point where nothing I do makes it look good. Absolutely nothing. But that's beside the point. I just want to get a cute bob going again. Saltiest Cash, that's one of my relatives, either my dad or my sisters. I will eat real food after this. I have a chicken in the oven right now. It smells delicious. Should be done right around the time that the food is done. Is this Haley? Haley, are you the saltiest, Cash? Because that's not true. You're not the saltiest. The saltiest is Harper. Anyways, so let's talk about why I took a break. So I just cut. You want the buffalo chicken dip again? Sure. I actually made some the other day. You missed it. And I have some. I'll have some leftover chicken after today. I can make some more. Anyways, so last October I stopped making videos because I was in the middle of preparing for the debut of my first musical, Phantasmagoriana. It had a one-night-only Halloween production that went off really well. I'm not going to say without a hitch because there were so many hitches that I nearly lost my mind. I actually did lose my mind at one point, but that's a whole other story about the caterer. Oh, dear God. Yeah. So after I had that debut production, I wanted to get right back into making videos, but I wasn't happy with the production, and I knew there was something else I needed to do before I could get back into this. And the thing that I needed to do was to make a production of Phantasmagoriana that I felt represented my actual vision for the piece, and that was what I wanted. So, and I also wanted to push it out there, get a little bit more acclaim, because the Halloween show, it went off well, but it wasn't what I wanted. So I spent a couple months trying to get into a local arts festival called Piccolo Spoleto, and then after that, I started preparing for Piccolo Spoleto, and I didn't just, direct the show to write it and do all of the stuff to bring it together. I also was in it. So I've spent the last several months, doing vocal lessons and acting things and just trying my best to make sure that I put my best foot forward with my work. So yeah, that's where I've been. So the point of this stream is to say hi, welcome back to me, but also to talk about what makes a musical make it to the stage and what makes others fail. Because Phantasmagoria, it's not my first idea for a musical. It's not even my second or my fifth or my 10th. There have been so many ideas over the years, and almost all of them have failed until Phantasmagoria. And I want to talk a bit about why that happens. So the first thing that I should clarify is there is no such thing as a bad idea. Bad ideas just simply don't exist. I mean, you hear teachers say all the time, there's no such thing as a stupid question. And the thing that follows is only stupid people. And here it's the same kind of thing. There's no such thing as a bad idea, only bad executions. What I mean by that is almost any musical, you can describe it in a way where it sounds just terrible and stupid. And like it shouldn't be a musical at all. And then there are musicals that are actually like bad and stupid and dull, but you can describe them in a way where it's like, that sounds like a great show. And then you learn what it is and you're like, oh, like, I don't want to insult any shows is the thing. But so let's go with, anything goes. Okay. So there's a cruise ship and stuff happens. Like, that sounds really boring, but it's one of the most iconic musicals of all time. And then I'm not a big fan of Dear Evan Hansen, but I've heard people describe it in ways where it sounds just fantastic. And the play that goes wrong, look what I have right here. I actually met the guys who wrote it when they did Peter Pan Goes Wrong on Broadway. At the stage door, there was literally like nobody there, so I got to chat with all of them. Henry Lewis is just the nicest guy, and they're all just so lovely. I love them. Anyways. Yeah, Dear Evan Hansen, you can describe it in ways where it sounds like the best show ever, but then you realize, oh, this is just World's Greatest Dad, that old Robin Williams movie, but significantly worse and less funny. Sorry, I really hate Dear Evan Hansen. Anyways, so the idea of success of a musical here is not it making money. It's making it to the stage at all. That's the bar for success. Because that's where I'm at, y'all. So there are a lot of bad ideas that have made it to the stage and a lot of good ideas that haven't. So why? What makes those ideas go their separate ways? So I thought I'd go through a couple of highlights from my career. And go over why different musicals that I've thought about writing or started writing or even finished writing in completion, why they didn't end up making it to the stage. So the first musical that I ever wrote in full was actually a fan fiction of a popular cartoon at the time. Still remains one of my favorite cartoons. And looking back at the music now, it is very clear that it was written by a 15-year-old who had no idea how to write music. But it was a great stepping stone towards learning how to structure a musical. Now, obviously, the reason it didn't get off the ground and actually get on stage was because it was fan fiction. Without official licensing or an online following, I couldn't get it off the ground. So think about things like Star Kid with a Harry Potter musical and Holy Musical Batman. Those are fan fiction, so they can't make money off of them. But they have an online following already, and they've got a troupe already together, so they're able to just do the thing anyways. So I'm not Star Kid. I wasn't Star Kid back in high school, so that obviously didn't happen. When I was in college, I started research on a musical about Jack the Ripper, and I want to write this musical. My my roommate at the time and I, we talked about Jack the Ripper, and we came up with an absolutely insane solution as to who Jack the Ripper was and what happened to make him stop killing. And yeah, it lent itself to a very crazy musical, but I wanted to write it, and I was so gung-ho about it. But then a TV show called Psych came out with a musical episode, and in that musical episode, they feature a Jack the Ripper musical. And that wasn't what stopped me from continuing the writing process. The thing that stopped me, this is going to sound so stupid, was Jamaican Inspector Man. That song, it stuck in my head. And every time I tried to write something, I would just think Jamaican Inspector Man. Straight from Kingston to London town, we're gonna party like it's 1888. Yeah. I haven't watched that in years, but it's still stuck in my head. And so that musical is like forever tainted by Jamaican Inspector. So I couldn't write it, and eventually I'll revisit it and write it, but it's not going to be anytime soon. Anyways, so the next musical that I wrote, I actually wrote it and had some songs from it performed, and it was good. And it actually had legs to get off the ground, and it had a small enough ensemble cast and a short enough runtime that I probably could have put it on stage. But the thing is, it was about the myth of Hades and Persephone, and then Hadestown came out. I've yet to see Hadestown, and I don't know any of the songs, but I can pretty much guarantee that all of them are better than everything I wrote for that musical. Partially because, I was still in college at the time when I wrote it, and partially because, just I wasn't that proud of that. The reason I wrote that musical was because I saw the idea for it on Tumblr, I think it was, and I was like, ooh, that's a neat story. Let me take it and mess around. I took a very Tim Minchin-y approach to it. This was before I knew that he actually wrote musical theater, but every song was kind of a satirical take on things. It was fun, and it was a great exercise, but it even if Hadestown hadn't come out, I don't think it would have made it to the stage. It just wasn't quite there. Hadestown has this complete idea, and my musical is very one note. Then I had two different musicals that I started to write that one of them I finished writing that were based on pre-existing IPs. So the first one, I reached out to the author and I was like, hey, can I write this musical based on your book? And they were like, yeah, you just need to get the rights and should be good. So I went about getting the rights, and I got a verbal agreement and everything. I got things down in emails, and I started writing it, and it was all going really well. I wrote the script, wrote the music, was super proud of it. Looking back on it, it's still very elementary, but still some good work there. And then the author got a better offer, essentially, and went, I don't remember ever talking to you. You're making things up. Emails? What emails? And so that didn't end up coming to fruition. So I have a whole libretto sitting in my garage doing nothing that will probably never see the light of day, because even if that author came to me now and said, hey, I want to do this musical with you, I would say no, because I was so damaged by that experience that it stopped me from writing for years. That was the thing that made me stop writing for so long after college, until I wrote Phantasmagoriana. But that music, I might recycle it in the future into future shows. I don't know. We'll see what happens. It had a very particular kind of soundscape to it that I don't know what sort of story it would be appropriate for. But I don't know, we'll see what happens in the future, right? Then there was the other book. And this one, I emailed the author and said, hey, big fan, read this book, loved it. I really want to write a musical based on it, but I want to do something a little bit non-conventional with it. And the author said, sure, that sounds fun. Let's talk details. But I need to get this other thing with this other project underway, and then we'll work it out. And then the author died. And the family needs time to mourn their passing before pursuing any other projects. So I don't know if they'll ever want to pursue my project, but they got my number if they ever want to let me do my thing. Anyways, I don't want to name names for those last two just because, but yeah. Anyways, so those are the highlights of my failed projects in the past. Is there anything else in the public domain you're interested in writing a musical for? Yes, I wanted to write a Great Gatsby musical, except Cthulhu lives in the pool. I wanted to do a kind of Lovecraftian horror eldritch thing combined with the mundane capitalistic horror of the Great Gatsby, and the overarching narrative being this idea of a greater unseen power that is fucking us all over. I want to write a musical about Snow White and Sleeping Beauty, but it all takes place in their dreams, very David Lynch style. I'm thinking about, as a fun little side project for myself, writing a one-woman show about a girl who wakes up on stage and she's in the middle of a nightmare. She doesn't know her lines. Am I frozen? Nope, I'm not frozen. I'm good. She doesn't know her lines, and she's just like, that's the sort of thing that I'll sit down and write on a random Tuesday when it's raining outside. Yeah, I've got a lot of ideas out there for stuff that's in the public domain. It's just a matter of the idea speaking to me at a given moment in time and happening. But just because something is available and in the public domain does not mean that it's going to happen. The big reason why all of those shows didn't work was because there was something that existed that got in the way. With the first musical, the fan fiction musical, it was the source material. I didn't have the official licensing, obviously. I was 15. With Jack the Ripper, Psych did their Jamaican Inspector Man. Hades and Persephone, you got Hades Town. And with those two books, obviously, you have the issue of rights. But that's the thing that stopped me in the past with those specific musicals, but that's not necessarily the big thing standing in the way. The big thing standing in the way is people. And kind of negative self-talk is the big thing. I probably could have pushed on all of these shows and gotten all of them onto the stage one way or another, but I just didn't do that. With Phantasmagoriana, though, anytime a person said no to me, I took that as a challenge and I made it happen out of spite. Why Phantasmagoriana inspired that in me versus those other shows is hard to put into words, but I'll try. Phantasmagoriana happened because a series of events aligned to make it so. That sounds so, that's such a cop-out answer, right? But my dad was the one who recommended the story of Phantasmagoriana to me. It was his idea, and I waited a good long while before I actually wrote it. And the thing that made me write it was something bad happened to my dad and something bad happened to me at the same time. And for some reason, Phantasmagoriana came to mind as the show I needed, as the thing I needed to do to make it better. I was heavily concussed, so it made sense at the time. And I wrote it and I got it finished, and there was nobody who could tell me no, because every no that I heard was not a no, you can't do it. It's a Phantasmagoria. It was very much a piece about legacy, and it is also my legacy and my dad's legacy in a way. So it just kind of worked. Every time somebody said no, it wasn't telling me, no, this isn't going to happen. It's no, you have to go in a different direction. And if it was a no, you can't do this, I took it as a personal affront and went, well, I'm going to do it anyways. And what do you know? So the reason Phantasmagoria happened, I guess, is spite above all else, which is the case for a lot of stuff in my life. Anyways, I did learn a lot while doing Phantasmagoria. Phantasmagoria, from the very beginning, from that car ride in 2015 when my dad recommended the story, I'm fueled by spite. Yes, that is very much the Cash family motto. But from that very first car ride where my dad recommended the idea, the show of Phantasmagoria, the idea of it was complete, whole, and already felt real. All of those other shows were kind of nebulous and didn't have that solidity to them. My Lavinia Fisher show, the one that this YouTube channel is all about, is similarly very solid in that I have a very specific vision of what I want with it. Whether I can translate that vision to the stage is another thing entirely, but I think I can make it happen. And going back to spite, all of the people who love the ghost story of Lavinia Fisher, the serial killer, are mad at me because they don't like that I'm going with historical accuracy. And the people who care about historical accuracy and everything are mad at me because I'm also highlighting some parts of the ghost story and not just doing pure historically accurate stuff. So everyone is mad at me. Everyone's going to hate this show. So that's why I'm going to be able to write it. Because everyone's going to hate it. All right. Anyways, so while I was doing Phantasmagoria these past couple of months, I learned a lot of things. And a big thing that I learned is that everyone is wrong. Oh, do I know my dad's ghost tours story? I do not, if you want to share it in the chat. And in the meantime, I'll tell you. I learned while I was doing Phantasmagoria that everyone is wrong when they say I can't do things. There are very few things that I can't do. I can't roller skate. As an example, I broke my leg last time I tried, so I'm never doing that again. Like, there are things that I cannot do, but the things that I can do, I can do, even if people tell me I can't. So I had people tell me I couldn't direct the show because I wrote it, and I would have a biased perspective and all that. Yeah, I had a biased perspective while I was directing it, but so would any other director. That's kind of just how human beings work. We have biases. And what do you know? It worked out. And my vision came to fruition. I couldn't be in the show because I don't have the voice, the looks, the talent, the presence, whatever else you want to list out. But I played Claire Claremont, and I got nothing but praise afterwards. And that was a lot of fun, and I thoroughly enjoyed myself, and I feel like I gave the character what she needed. Anyways, I had people tell me, I had a specific person tell me that I couldn't do everything and also make the costumes and the wigs. That person told me that I should do costumes similar to Andrew Lloyd Webber's Bad Cinderella, that famously successful hit, right? Really glad I didn't listen to that guy for a variety of reasons. But the costumes for the Halloween show were 70% of the way there. But Piccolo Spoleto, my God, those costumes were perfection. And the wigs were amazing, and I'm very proud of myself for my work on that. I mean, years and years of cosplay actually ended up being useful. Let's see, what else? Orchestrating the show the way I wanted. A lot of people told me you can't just have a piano. That's not going to give, the fullness of a musical that you need. Well, sometimes you don't need full. You need empty space. But a piano can fill a concert hall. It can fill a theater. Anyways, making the show immersive. So many people hated the immersive aspect of the show, but I made it work. And one of the actors came up to me in the middle of the Piccolo Spalato run and was like, I see your vision now. I get it. I see it. And I was like, yes, there we go. The immersive aspect of the show, it's something that hasn't been done before, and it worked. And then, of course, there's finding a venue and an audience. So I contacted every theater in Charleston, and the ones that responded to me said no. The ones that didn't respond to me, well, tacit no. And yet, I ended up doing the show at the Charleston Museum, the oldest museum in the frickin' country. How's that for a venue, guys? And as far as finding an audience, I had a really great turnout for Halloween. Less of a great turnout for Piccolo Spalato, but I still had a decent audience at every show, so good enough for me. Anyways, let's look at this ghost story. He went on a ghost tour downtown, and they pointed to a big red door and started talking about how it was red to honor the 5 victims who were killed in that house. And it was Dad's front door. Of course it was. Oh my God. That reminds me of the American Horror Story first season Murder House, where they're like, I'm sorry, this is called the what now? Anyways, they're really cool. What's on the mannequin behind me? So on this mannequin, the gray one, I have a tape that is kind of outlining the shape of a costume that I'm making. If you've seen the movie The Substance, I'm making Sue's workout outfit, the little leotard, because it's iconic and I need a new cosplay for DragonCon this year. And this over here, that has a push-up bra on it. Because I was using these 2 mannequins to model the costumes for Phantasmagoriana, and I needed breasts on the mannequin in order to make it fit the actress playing Mary, her measurements. So yeah, the mannequins have to stay in here because at nighttime, you'll see the shadow of a headless figure in the hallway, and it scares the living daylights out of you if it's not, cloistered away in here. Anyhow, so yeah, the big thing that I learned from Phantasmagoriana is that everyone is wrong and I can do anything that I think I can do. And I think that's true for everybody, that if you think you can do something and you have reasonable expectations of yourself, then just freaking do it. Like, there's nothing stopping you except for you. Like I can understand my own limitations. I couldn't play, say, John Polidori, the bass, but I made a decent Claire, even though I'm not an alto. I did rewrite some lines to be a little bit higher to fit my voice type, my register a little better, and it worked out well. Anyhow, all of my failures from the last couple of months came from. This is going to sound like a cop-out, but all of the failures from the last couple of months came from me listening to other people, believing them when they said things that weren't necessarily true. As an example, one of the reasons I did a bunch of shows for Piccolo Spalato rather than just 1 or 2, rather than just a weekend, was a lot of people told me that they would definitely come to see the show if I did it again, and to make sure that I did lots of performances so that they would definitely be able to make it. And not a single one of those people came. uh, not one of them. They're just they were straight up making excuses and trying to flatter me rather than being honest, which sucks. But I should have known better than to trust people. Anyway, another failure of mine was I rushed the hiring process of the first show for Halloween, rather than fully vetting everyone involved in the production first and really taking my time. Um, I ended up with a cast that wasn't quite right. My Mary, perfect. I almost said my Josh, my Byron, perfect. My John, he needed a little bit more time. But once he had that time, he was perfect. My Claire, great actor, but not the strongest singer. So a lot of our rehearsal time was dedicated to just working on singing in tune. And at that performance, it still wasn't in tune. So that was a lot of time wasted, and my work wasn't presented with its best foot forward. And there were other things, but the reason my Percy, the original Percy that I had, dropped out, and I had to fill in the role very last minute with very little notice. And thankfully, I had a friend who could sing the part, but he's not really an actor as much as he is an opera singer and cellist. So he wasn't super secure in the role. Then for the Piccolo Spoleto show, I took my time in finding a new Percy, and I looked for a role for myself to play, and I realized Byron was perfect. Byron expressed interest in rejoining the show. Mary was perfect. Mary expressed interest in rejoining the show. Obviously, John, I couldn't take that part, so I begged Matt to stay in the show, and we made it work. So I stepped into the role of Claire, and I debated between Claire and Percy, but I'm glad I ended up in the role of Claire, because the guy who ended up playing Percy is actually Percy Shelley in real life. Connor, you're the best if you're watching this. Anyways, I learned that if I can't find the right person initially, instead of just settling for whoever is close enough, I need to keep looking and put literally everything on hold until I find the right fit. So when I end up casting for this musical, whenever that comes around, I am going to cast well ahead of time and not even set a performance date until after I have found my Lavinia. Like, any guy could play frickin' John. And I'm writing the role of the ghost tour guide so that anybody, absolutely anybody, could play the ghost tour guide. But Lavinia has to be perfect. So I'm gonna really take my time on that and finding a director, because I don't want to direct this show because of the material and how sensitive it is, the nature of it. I need to find a director who has a perspective where they can really just do it right. I'm not sure who that's going to be, but I will find them, and I'm sounding like Liam Neeson. I will find them. I have a very particular set of skills. Yeah, I'm not going to rush things with this show. I didn't rush things with Phantasmagoria. I took 10 years, guys, to bring that to the stage. But I still was in a hurry to make it happen towards the end, because I was getting impatient. I'm not going to be impatient this time. I'm really going to just have patience, find the right people, because I know there's a right person. I've learned this. There always is the perfect person. There's no such thing as soulmates, but there is such a thing as soul actors. Anyways, there are other failures, but those are the two biggest. Was the audience and the personnel, I guess I should say. I've learned a lot more other than that, like little things about direction and about writing. As an example, one thing is I need to think about the way lyrics are shaped in the mouth. Like there are some phonetics that involve closing the lips, and that interrupts the sound. There are other things that involve closing the jaw, and that makes it harder to project. So just keeping that in mind with certain words, and the shapes of different vowels really do matter. And Sondheim was a bit of a jerk for writing a song called Company, you know. So I need to be more mindful of that. My Mary pointed out to me that all of her songs ended with a big E sound, which is hard to make it sound pretty, especially when it's high up and you want to maintain the shape of the value. It just turns the vowel. It just turns into an ah eventually. Anyhow, so all that being said, I think there's a lot that can make a musical fail. And it all comes down to the individual who is making the thing. Because other people can screw up all day long, but at the end of the day, it's up to you to make it happen. So it's up to me to make this Lavinia Fisher show happen. So I am ready to jump back in and let's go over the game plan of the videos you guys can look forward to. I'm just going to go through the list. This isn't necessarily the order that they're going to be in, but first on the list is song spotting. So song spotting is the process of figuring out where songs are going to go in the story. Basically take the Wikipedia plot summary and interject, okay, here's a song, here's a song, here's a song, so we're going to go over like how to do that, what types of moments are best suited for songs. We'll look at different types of songs from my favorite musicals and determine why that moment in particular called for a song. I think Company is probably the best musical to study for song spotting because of its nature of being just a series of vignettes. It's just a great musical to study in general. Then we will look at the plot for my show and do some song spotting there, figure out where all the songs are going to go. Then we, in another video, we'll talk about how I'm going to approach the immersive aspect of this show. Specifically, what about all the other characters? So the show is for 3 actors, the ghost tour guide, Lavinia, and John. What about Reverend Furman as an example? What about whoever else? All those other characters could be played by audience members, or they could be played by the tour guide being possessed, or just, mockingly doing it. There are lots of options there, and I've got to figure out exactly what I want. So y'all can look forward to that. We'll do an episode on perspective and tone. How looking at a story from the perspective of different characters changes the shape of the story and the tone of it. And I'll probably use Sweeney Todd. I know I always use Sondheim as my examples, and that's because he's the best, and I won't apologize. But yeah, we'll probably use Sweeney Todd as the example because, Anthony has this great love story going on that he sees this as, Romeo and Juliet. But Sweeney obviously sees it as a revenge story. So there's, who doesn't love Sweeney Todd? It's the best. I saw it on Broadway with Josh Groban and Annalee Ashford. And oh my God. Sweeney Todd was actually the first musical that made me realize what musicals could be. I was in it in high school at a Christian high school, which that makes sense. Mom's still mad at me for that. Oh, yeah, I remember that. Anyhow, I was in Sweeney Todd as a kid, and I was like, oh, so musicals can be about murder and cannibalism. Huh. Interesting. That's new. I want to hear more. I want to do more. I want to see more. I want to be more. Yeah, that's why we have Phantasmagoriana, and that's why I'm doing Lavinia Fisher. Lavinia Fisher, actually, I chose that idea because I wanted to write a Sweeney Todd. I wanted to write a fun murder romp, but I ended up with a fucked up Romeo and Juliet instead. Whoops. I'll write a fun murder romp eventually. I'll find a story, I'm sure. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Anyways, next thing we'll talk about is the scenes we don't see. So Kurt Vonnegut, 8 Rules of Writing. I did a video on that a while ago. He said start the story as close to the end as you possibly can, and then make sure that the ending is obvious, so that if cockroaches ate the last few pages, the audience would still know what's up. And I take that to mean that we're only seeing a very narrow frame in the show, and sometimes there's stuff in that frame that gets dropped. So there's stuff before the events of the show, and there's stuff after the events of the show that we do not see, and there's stuff during the show that we do not see, and I need to fully understand what's going on in all of those times in order to fully understand what's happening on the stage, the stuff that we do see. I got this from a book. Oh my gosh, it's somewhere in this room. I could not tell you where. But sorry about the squeaking, by the way. That'd be the stationary bike that I'm sitting on. Anyhow, I read this book on directing while I was preparing for Phantasmagoriana, and there was a suggestion for an activity that actors could do to get into character, where they covered the scenes that we don't see before the events of the show, where the characters like first meet or otherwise like establish relationships or just establish character. And I think those exercises were really good for the actors. But more so, they were great for me because they gave me a better insight into the characters. So I think doing that kind of thing while writing the show will give me a fuller understanding of the individuals. We'll do an episode on finding the voices of the characters. And there's 2 different sides to that. There's finding the voice types, like soprano, alto, tenor, bass. But there's also the finding the archetypes for the characters. So like how do they speak? How do they sing? What do their voices sound like? Like what? You know how sometimes you read something and it's like, oh, I know who wrote this. This is obvious. This is from ChatGPT. Linguistic tells from individuals are so important when you're writing because it kind of gives the actors a clue into the character's inner workings of their mind. I don't know how best to put it. But I will put it in a way that makes sense in that video. Anyways, we'll do a video on the name Lavinia. So the name Lavinia is not a common one, but it's used in 2 other sources. There's the Greek myth and there's the Shakespeare. So we'll look at both of those and talk about how that like public perspective of the name Lavinia kind of affects our understanding of the person with the name. Nominative determinism is the concept of being named something and you and you just have to follow whatever your name is. Like, I don't know. My last name's Cash, so it's like if I became a banker, you know? Or someone named Smith going into metalworking. It's like that's just, it's decided by your name. Or if my sister Harper became a harpist. I don't know. But yeah, talking about the name Lavinia and how it might affect. Of course, you want every race for treasure. Jesus. But we'll talk about how the name Lavinia affects our perception of the character. Like, what if her name was Susan? I mean, Susan the serial killer? That's such a different vibe than Lavinia. And we'll talk about why and how we'll deal with that. Anyways, next up we have what comes first, the chicken or the egg, or rather the lyrics or the music. So when I'm writing, it's sometimes one, sometimes the other, sometimes neither, and we will talk about that. I'll do a video that's a day in the life of a composer because I know my friends and family think I don't do anything. They think I just, lounge around holding my dog and my ducks and, drawing things and having fun. I do actually do work, I promise. I feel like that's why serial killers are given nicknames even after they're identified. Yeah, I mean, that could be it. What was that serial killer who, like, they were named, like, the Green River Killer or whatever, and because they were named that by the press, the police only looked at, like, that river for victims, and they missed, like, a whole bunch of other related crimes that were perpetuated by the same individual, but because of that bias, they didn't investigate properly. I cannot remember what serial killer it actually was, but if someone can remind me which one it was, it's gonna bug me until I find out. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, I feel like a lot of people in my life personally don't think I do anything all day, including my boyfriend. So I'm gonna do a video just kind of showing what I do in an average day. And it's not going to be the most exciting video, but you will get to see my cute little ducklings. Well, they're not little so much anymore. They're like this big now. I got ducks. They're named Sergei, Dmitry, and Pyotr after my favorite composers, Shostakovich, Tchaikovsky, and Prokofiev. I love Russian music. I could not tell you why. Eventually, I'll write something that's inspired by Russian music, but I don't know what the hell that story will look like. Anyways, I'll do a video on combating writer's block because I have a lot of tricks for that, actually, because I deal with children in my day-to-day job of teaching violin, and I've learned that my motivation, my inspiration is also a child. And so the things that I do to convince the children to do things are the things that I have to do to myself to convince me to do things. I know there's so many videos out there about combating writer's block, but I think mine will be a little bit different. So stay tuned for that one. It'll be interesting. Anyways, I'm going to do a video on phonetics and how they influence lyrical writing, the percussion of different words. So as an example, then one of the songs that is in Phantasmagoria, John sings, "Perhaps take just one quick look. It's my first, my best, my book." And that's got a lot of T's and K's and it's very percussive. And it sounds like the meaning of the words is, hey, would you have a look at my thing? I really respect you and admire you. But the sound of it, that percussive nature, sounds very bitter and like tense. And that is awesome. And that's super important. Opening the mouth and avoiding the jaw clenching. The types of syllables and words that facilitate easier sounds in the mouth of the performer. And then, like, obviously talking about tongue twisters. And I'm going to talk about getting married today because that's the ultimate, isn't it? Also, the rural juror thing, right? Yeah. And I am the very model of a modern major general. We'll talk about all the patter songs. And how the tongue twistery nature lends itself to better enunciation, weirdly enough. Because people practice things when they're hard, but they don't practice them when they're easy. Anyways, yeah. So those are all the videos that I have planned out for right now. And obviously there will also be videos that will be interspersed within those that are not any of those, and will be just like, oh, here I wrote a song, or here's a development in the actual writing of the musical. I'm not going at this with a distinct plan in mind. I'm just kind of going with the flow and seeing what happens. And if you want to see like how far in advance I plan things, just look at the length of my hair, and that's a pretty good tell to distinguish when I've recorded something. That's the one thing I can't mask. Anyways, so what time is it? It's 2:49. It's 2:50. Okay, so I have a surprise for you all. If you read the description, it's not a surprise. If you're on my Patreon, which you should be if you're not already, then it's also not a surprise. But I wrote a song the other day. Okay, I've had a really bad sleep schedule the last couple of weeks. Ever since my show closed, I have just had issues with my sleep. I've been napping all the time, and rarely sleeping for more than 2 hours at a time. It's very odd, but I'm basically living like my ducks. Anyways, so the other day at 4 a.m., I wrote a song. So I'm going to sing that for you guys. Let me move this. Yeah. Okay. So I must warn you all, I am. Why did that start yelling at me? I don't know. Okay. Anyways, I'm not good at guitar. So please forgive me for being bad at guitar. Oh Lord, have mercy on me. Okay, so the musical style for the 6 Miles, that's the title, the working title of the Lavinia Fisher musical, will be kind of jazzy. This isn't very jazzy because I am not a jazz singer, and I also don't know how to play rhythm guitar. I barely know how to play guitar at all. But just imagine this being sung by a tenor, probably, maybe a baritone, we'll see, with like a jazzy style and, you know, a competent guitarist. All right. So this is a love song. I don't write love songs, okay? Like, I am bad at love songs. But when I do write love songs, they're cute. And they have double meanings. All right. So forgive me. Hope y'all enjoy. Though I ain't a man of many words, I love you so and so. But though I ain't a man of many words, I think you ought to know. Nope, there's not the chord. There it is. My love ain't high as the skies. My love ain't wide as the ocean. My love ain't long as the night. It's just here, just enough for me and you. It's waking up next to you a Sunday morning. Your hair a mess, your face a little red. Laying across from you, listening to your breath. Wondering what dreams are in your head. My love ain't tall as the mountaintops. My love ain't strong as an ox. My love ain't bright as the stars above. It's just here, just enough for me and you. Nope. You ba do ba like a guitar. Da-da-da-da. Mundane and ordinary, day by day we go. But that mundane and ordinary, day by day I know, are far from ordinary when I love you so. It's cotton dust to cut it again. Doing the dishes, just take it on them. Living where the fuck am I going? Every day one after the next. Living it with you. Living it with you. Living it with you. Oh, living it with you. Living it with you. So I need a sea shanty in it. Okay. Oh my goodness. So yeah, that'll be a love song from John to Lavinia. I'm not sure where exactly it's gonna go in the show, or even if it'll make it into the show, but it was certainly fun to write it. And I when you were learning to drive, you played the same sea shanty 10 times. Why? Why would a sea shanty help you learn how to drive? That does not make, okay, whatever, it's fine. Anyhow, yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed that song. If you want the sheet music to see what the chords actually are, because I don't think I played most of them correctly, then I'm happy to share the sheet music. I know there are a lot of people out there who are like very protective over their sheet music, but I'm not. Like, if you want sheet music to any song that I wrote, like, just ask. I'll email it to you. If you want a recording, I'll email that to you too. Like, I should be more protective and I should be afraid of people stealing my stuff, but like, with the rise of generative AI, I am just kind of numb to it now. I've just accepted that my work is going to be stolen just like every other artist on the planet Earth. Doesn't mean I'm going to stop creating it. Doesn't mean I'm going to stop sharing it. Just means I'm going to roll my eyes at every person who uses AI to do their creative ventures rather than using their brains. Anyways, yeah. Fun stream. Hope y'all enjoyed. Hope y'all could actually hear me singing over the guitar. This is my little Acoustasonic, so it's not very loud when it's not plugged in, which is kind of what I needed for this. All right, well, thank you all for watching. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and also like this video if you want to see me do more live streams in the future. I am not great at live streams. I'm sure somebody's been counting how many times I've said or and yep, there's another one. Yeah, I will see you guys again next Sunday. That's right. I'm not doing every other week anymore. I'm going to do every Sunday, switching to a weekly schedule so that we can just be more consistent. I can hold myself more accountable, and also I can just do more. The videos are going to be between 10 and 20 minutes when it's one of those how to write videos that I mentioned before. Shorter when it's just showing off a song or whatever. Longer when it's something else, like a live stream. Anyways, so next Sunday will be the video about song spotting, unless I decide otherwise. Honestly, I'm not going to make any promises. But if you want to see the video before next Sunday, then be sure to subscribe to my Patreon. There is a link in the description, or at least there should be. I hope there is. Did I remember to put it there? Maybe, maybe not. If not, then go find it. Yeah, I will see you guys next week. We'll talk about song spotting, and yeah, that's all. I kind of want to ride this out for another 30 seconds so that I can hit the hour mark. I don't know if that does anything, but yeah, hope y'all have a lovely Sunday. Go rewatch Sweeney Todd or Company or any other Sondheim musical to celebrate the fact that he's a genius. Okay. Where is the end stream button? Does anyone know? Oh, there it is. It's at the bottom. It's hidden by my camera. My camera is in front of my monitor, so like half of the screen is obscured. All right. See y'all next week. Subscribe. Follow me on Patreon. Next Sunday. Song spotting. Bye. Stream will stop immediately. Yes, that's what I want.